We're on the air again. My name is Jeffrey Davis. Welcome back. Our next story is reporter Peter Myerson, business at large reporter from the law firm of Cohan Rasnick Myerson Plaut. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you, Jeffrey. It's great to be here, as it always is. So today, I'm going to talk about something which nobody has been talking about, for the last couple of weeks.
I can
or
tell you're
month.
being facetious.
Well, I want to talk about deflategate.
Okay, good.
And I think it's really a very interesting process. And I want to talk about sort of some of the general things that relate to deflategate. But I think what will interest our audience, and I wish they could call in live, But I think what
I'll pretend to be your audience.
Well, I hope you do. I think what will interest our audience in particular is I'd like to give them some takeaways. I mean, I think there are some serious takeaways from deflategate. And I've kind of been reading the newspaper articles like everybody else.
So you're going to be Judge Berman.
I'm not going to be Judge Berman. I don't want to be Judge Berman. And you can see what Judge Berman is doing, which is he doesn't want to be Judge Berman either.
He wants them to solve it.
He wants them to solve it.
Right.
Because this is going to drag on forever.
But he will be a topic of conversation at the golf club for years to come.
Years to come.
And he might not have been.
Well, no, he would be, actually. He's quite a good judge. But, this is not a case that he really wants. So, the question that really you have to ask yourself is, what is deflategate all about? And I read an interesting article the other day that it's about due process. What's due process in this context? It's about the collective bargaining agreement and what the collective bargaining agreement means. It's about the generally aware standard, which we in New England think is pretty funny. So Tom Brady was maybe generally aware in the Wells report that they might, be interested in deflating the balls. And in the final report from Goodell, it moves from generally aware to being aware.
Right.
So it's sort of about basic fairness.
And they actually released the NFL another, it must have been a PR release on Friday evening where they just went right after Brady saying he totally knew what was going on. But that's all PR. That's just
PR.
Public opinion they're managing.
That's all they're doing is they're managing public opinion. And the question really is where does this go? I mean, I don't know whether you read it or not. I actually read the report on the ball testing. I mean, and it's a fascinating report.
Right.
Yeah, I was doing some exercises, and I figured this is pretty boring stuff.
You were home blowing up footballs.
I was home blowing up footballs. And, did you realize that there were two separate gauges and that the gauges were half a pound off? And the
gauge itself.
Both gauges were the one gauge was a half pound off from the other gauge.
That's you know what? That's a first for me.
Isn't that fascinating?
Right.
And the
gauge cheated.
One of the gauges cheated.
Right.
And the referees didn't think, because they were under such pressure to get the second half going, they didn't think to identify which balls were measured by which gauge.
Right.
And they, and there's this whole thing about, they brought the Patriot balls in and they did 11 of them and they did them while they were cold, but the four and they only did 4 from the Colts. The 4 that they did from the Colts, it was a half hour later. So they warmed up. So, you look at all this stuff. So it's really interesting.